I'm Annie Peguero, and I call myself the Fear Alchemist. If fear, self-doubt, and imposter syndrome is keeping you stuck from leading with confidence and clarity, you're in the right place. I help leaders shape-shift fear into bravery for greater impact. I know firsthand what it's like to face fear and uncertainty. In 2010, I made the life-altering decision to resign from my career in federal law enforcement, turn in my gun and badge, and follow my heart. I married a Marine, moved to a tiny island in the Far East, leaving behind everything that I thought defined me. What I didn't realize at the time was this wasn't just a career change, it was the beginning of a complete reinvention. As an adoptee relinquished at birth, I carried deep trauma and unresolved fears that shaped my identity. I did a live video on Facebook in 2017 asking for help in finding my birth family, and my whole life shifted. Today, I help leaders of all kinds get closer to their fears, self-doubt, and sabotage using my BRAVE framework. We transform challenges into clarity, confidence, and meaningful action. Through this podcast, we'll explore how fear shows up in your life and provide actionable strategies to move forward. Therapy is great, but sometimes the talk loops are exhausting. Here, you're going to have real action steps to help you move forward in your life. From relationships to parenting to business and leadership, we'll uncover what works and what doesn't so you can create the impact that you're destined to make. Fear doesn't have to hold you back. Together, we'll transform it into your greatest superpower. Welcome to the Lion's Garden podcast. Okay, welcome back to the Lion's Garden. We are almost to episode 100. Can you even believe it? Listen, I was going to delete all of my earlier episodes. It was a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, man, has my work really shifted over the last 13 years or what? So let me just go and delete this early stuff. And then I thought better of it. I'm like, what am I doing? Why would I do that? Why would I delete those episodes? Because it really shows, if you go back and listen to episodes even 1 through 30, they are so raw, so, I don't know, in my opinion, they're like cringeworthy, right? But they do offer some really valuable tips, strategies, thought processes, etc. But it's just raw. And I think it says a lot for just getting out there and doing the thing anyway, even when you don't have any idea what you're doing. Like I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, let's be real honest. I still don't most of the time. I just kind of do the thing and see what happens. But, you know, if you're in a place where you're wanting to create something new, you're wanting to do something, and you're kind of waiting for a blueprint, a checklist, like a guide, whatever, I'm here to tell you, just do the thing, right? Like do it and figure it out as you go. I'm sure you've heard over and over again, like just start messy. And I'm here to tell you that ish is real. Like just start messy, do the thing, get a coach, you know, even if it's not me, like that's totally fine. Get somebody to help you and to help like bounce ideas off of, not to tell you what to do. That's really important, but somebody to help you kind of get out of your own head. And that's really what it's all about, just doing the imperfect thing. So that's not what this episode is about. But I think it's important that I be transparent and let you know that I was thinking of deleting that early stuff, and I'm not going to because of that reason that I just shared. What this episode is about today, it's about rest. And the reason why I'm talking about rest today is I was at a networking event a couple weeks ago, and the host, who's my dear friend, was asking the group to think of how you winter. She asked the question, how do you winter? Like, what do you do to winter? Like, she used winter as a verb, and I just thought that was so cool. And it was like the first 3 or 4 people that answered the question. They were very adamant about this, and they're like, I do not winter. It is my busy time. I push through. I am busy. Like I have so much going on. There's no possible way for me to rest or winter. So like they kind of didn't even answer the question because in reality, like they don't winter. Like they're just doing all the things all the time. And I want to talk about that. Okay. I want to talk about the risk of not slowing down? What's at risk? I want to talk about the benefits of slowing down just a little bit. And I want to call a big fat bullshit to this idea that overachievers, successful people, high achievers need to slow down to speed up. Okay. That whole slow down to speed up thing, I'm going to call a big fat bullshit on that. And let's just slow down to slow down. And if you're like, Annie, it's impossible, I can't slow down, you don't understand, you couldn't possibly understand, this episode is for you. And here we go. Before I dig in, I want to take a minute to invite you to a free 5-day challenge that I have coming up. It's for busy people who want to make life easier in 5 days or less. And I'm going to teach you how to really discover how to make more confident decisions, rest, and set boundaries. So if what I was saying earlier about rest, if you're a person who's like, absolutely not, there's no way, everything is busy, everything is challenging, this is the challenge for you. And as of this recording, November 25th, 2024, we start on December 9th. You can go to my website at thelionsgarden.com. You can go to my Instagram to sign up. You can send me a message to get the link to sign up, but it's all over the places. And I'll also have the link to sign up for the challenge right here in the notes. So I'll see you over there in the challenge that starts on December 9th. I was in a call today, a coaching call with one of my clients, and she was talking about delegating, right? And delegating tasks and this kind of inability to take some things off of her plate because she could do them easily, right? Like, why not just do the things when she could do the things? And if she were to delegate the things, there was like a whole list of things that you have to do, right? Like to delegate, you have to like write down the process. You have to find, a person who can do the thing. And so for a lot of leaders, a lot of successful people, just filling your plate with all of these things, right? Like it just seems easier than actually delegating. So we're going to talk about that a little bit and what you can see as a benefit, a reward for actually taking the time to get some help, to ask for help, to do some of these things, to take them off of your plate, to step into the true leader role that you have, right? Whether you're a leader of an organization, a business, or a household, this applies across the board. So the concept of slowing down or wintering, as my friend put it at the beginning of this networking session, is about focusing energy where it matters most. And with the seasons, we are cyclical human beings, right? So as the leaves change, start to fall off, trees go dormant, our body and our brains kind of want to do the same thing. Now, this doesn't mean complete inaction, right? It doesn't mean that you shouldn't feel creative during this time. This is actually the most creative time of the year for me personally. I just feel so inspired during autumn and into winter, and I absolutely know it is a direct result of slowing down and turning inward. So instead of using this time as like procrastinating or putting things off, this rest actually becomes a space for expansion of creativity. And I challenge you to begin to think of it similar. So, when we're responding during this networking event and they're talking about like sitting by the fire, getting cozy, baking, those things will spark creativity. So how many times have you just been like doing dishes and all of a sudden like you'll have the best idea ever, right? Or like something that, you weren't thinking about this one particular thing, but all of a sudden it's suddenly downloaded in your brain and you're like, that's the best idea ever. I can't believe I never thought of it before. So thinking about priorities, thinking about goals and visions and bringing that to the front and keeping that close to your heart as you go into this time period, this season of more darkness, of coziness, right? I'm going to use myself as an example. My book is a priority right now, and I'm focusing on shifting and adding to my book proposal. So it's top of mind for me. So whenever I'm quiet, right? Whenever I take a bath with my Epsom salts, whenever I sit at my computer, I light a candle, I kind of allow the ideas to flow and I write them down without an agenda, right? Like I'm not thinking, oh, I'm setting out to do X, Y, and Z. I'm just allowing it to flow. Now you're like, okay, Annie, great. How idealistic. That's not for me. This can also happen when you have a set goal to accomplish, or you have a certain amount of time and you have to do the thing. So I'm going to give you 3 steps right now of what you can do instead. And I'm calling it the alignment approach. Really getting into complete and total connectedness with the goals that you have, the vision that you have, and taking on this time and space of rest and wintering. So step number 1, prioritize ruthlessly. Okay, ruthlessly. So identify what truly moves the needle in your life and in your business and let go of the rest. Like allow those things to fall to the wayside and maybe delegate some of those things or don't. Like maybe they're not even a priority. But when you identify really like the bare bones things that you need to do to move the needle, move forward, like progress. And it's funny, like my clients say all the time, they're like, okay, Annie, like I sat on the couch and I watched Netflix, but I know that I was moving forward. I know that was progress. And for some people listening, they're like, okay, no, you're not. But I want to challenge you. Absolutely. Yes, you are. Because in that moment, that was what was truly needed and in full alignment with your wholeness, was to just be and not do the work, right? But to actually just allow yourself to fall into that space of expansion. So differentiating between urgent and important tasks. That's also something that will really cut down on this fight or flight that we have when we talk about goals, right? When we talk about our to-do lists. So how often, now this is a question for you, how often are you saying this absolutely has to get done? It is urgent, it is dire, and it needs to happen right now. Like sometimes that's true and the thing absolutely needs to happen. And sometimes that's just our brain, our fear mechanism kicking in and saying, if I don't get this done, it's not going to get checked off of my list. And in reality, maybe that's not the most important priority or thing that you need to be spending your time on. So I want you to get real and honest with yourself about urgency and the importance of the tasks that you're doing every day. And just ask yourself, who am I being when I make it a priority to do this task right here, right? And who am I being when I make it a priority to get quiet and rest for 10 minutes? 10 minutes, this pocket of my day. Who is showing up in that 10 minutes? Is it your higher self saying, I'm honoring my space, my heart, my boundaries, right? Or are you saying, I have to do this thing, like this hamster on a wheel, just checking things off and making things happen? So there's just small questions to ask yourself. Step number 2, strategic actions. Small strategic actions. So instead of slowing down completely, right? If what I said in step number 1 just does not work for you and you're like, I don't have space this week to, just to do nothing, focus on micro actions that align with your goals. Instead of these, things on your to-do list that are these astronomical tasks that you keep putting off, breaking them down into chunks and into smaller steps that are in alignment, not only with your goals, but your entire value system. I worked with a client, I think it was last year, and she was talking about doing the actions that align with her value system. And when she has things that she needs to accomplish that are in full alignment with who she is at her core, she does the things. And when she looks at the things that she was putting off, she realizes that those things were never aligned to begin with. And those were things that she probably should have said no to. So think about that for a minute. The things that do not align with you, and ask yourself, the who is showing up question again. Who is showing up? What version of myself is showing up when I say I'm going to do this thing and I don't even fucking want to do that thing? It's like, it's so out of balance of who you are as a person. And this one can take a minute, right? And it can sting a little bit too when you realize that sometimes the people that you were spending the most time with are not the people that are in alignment with your wholeness and with your values, okay? And sometimes you have to say goodbye to relationships that maybe you put a lot of time and energy in, but when you get down to the rawness and the realness of your holism, you realize that those people were never for you and you were never for them. So that's kind of an out-of-the-box way of talking about small strategic actions, but it all comes down to your own value system and getting as close as you possibly can to what really makes your heart sing. So step number 3, create space, not guilt. Not guilt, okay? Another thing that the ladies were talking about in this networking group that I was at, they're like, I just can't sit still. Like if I sit still, I feel guilty. If I feel guilty, then I feel bad about myself. And that is definitely something to explore. If you notice, if you have scheduled some time to take a bath or go for a walk or literally sit and watch a show, if you feel guilty when you're doing those things, start to ask yourself some more of these questions that I'm talking about here in this episode and talking about creating space. So these short, intentional breaks into your routine to recharge without feeling like you are doing nothing. So when you kind of bake in this concept of going slower, of not being this like hard charging, get after it person in every moment of every day. And I chuckle when I say that because my former coworkers, there was one in particular, his name is Joe, and he'd be like, Annie, how high strung are you today? Like how wound tight are you today? Because I was so friggin', out of control with my need for speed that it was exhausting. It was exhausting to me and it was exhausting to the people around me. And I really had struggle seems like an easy word, but like it was impossible for me to slow down and to take a break. So I'm speaking from my own personal experience and also experience in my coaching successful leaders, in that leaders feel like they have to keep going. And I want to bring this to light. It's part of the BRAVE framework that I use with my clients. And the action step for A is awareness and then action. Awareness and then action. And that is critical because becoming aware of what's going on inside of you, right? From somatics, from where you're feeling stuck energy in your body and feeling into that space maybe of stuckness and tightness when you think about slowing down, and then getting yourself to a point where you can take action. And sometimes action looks like rest. All right. Sometimes action looks like rest. And, here again, if you're listening to this episode before December 9th of 2024, I'm doing a free challenge. It's called the Clarity Code Challenge. And I invite you to sign up for that challenge. It's going to be life-shifting. There's several people already signed up for it. We begin on December 9th. So you'll see the link to sign up here in the show notes and all over the place. It's all over my Instagram, my Facebook, and on my website. I invite you to sign up for that. Another thing that is really important to touch on is the mindset and the acceptance of progress over perfection, and recognizing and being friggin' honest with yourself about whether or not you are a perfectionist. Are you a person who can't do the thing unless it is absolutely perfect? And a lot of times, perfectionism can be hidden, right? Like you're like, oh no, I'm not a perfectionist. It might come in the form of like fear of judgment or being afraid what, your community, family, peers, even spouse might say if you, do something that's been on your heart and mind for a while. And especially if it's something in the creative realm, right? Like we're all creatives who may be fearful of getting your art out there. Well, here is your green light. Here's your call to action. Hey, do the thing, get it out there. Forward progress and sharing your art and your creativity isn't about the speed at which you do it, but it's just about doing it and getting it out there, embracing this intentionality as your tools for momentum, just being really deliberate with what you're doing instead of just doing nothing or slowing down to a space of your complete inaction. So something to think about, right? Something to think about. What does wintering mean to you? And what does slowing down to speed up really mean? So what if you switched that concept, right? And turned it into slowing down just for the sake of awareness, for the sake of getting crystal clear about your values and what is important to you and to your family or to your business or to your organization, like whatever you are the leader of. So in this time of, approaching winter, of gratitude, of being so incredibly grateful for everything that we have, all that we are, let's not confuse busy work with progress. And let's take this whole idea of slowing down to speed up and throw it out the window and say, slowing down with the intention of slowing down and bringing awareness to our values and to our actions in the moment. So let's do it. Let's do a little exercise. So I invite you to identify 3 tasks, 3 things that you can completely eliminate this week to regain focus and energy. So 3 things, 3 tasks that you can eliminate, maybe delegate, maybe take off of your plate completely to regain focus and recharge your energy. And when you have those things, I invite you to send me a message on Instagram, reply to my messages in email, like however you're going to get this word to me, and let me know what those 3 things are and why you feel like those are important so that you can regain focus and energy. And again, the Clarity Code Challenge is your next step. It's the perfect next step for you if you're feeling stuck in chaos and you want actionable strategies to create focus and progress. Thanks so much for listening. I trust this was super helpful for you. Let's forget about slowing down to speed up and just slow down for the sake of being connected to self. Talk to you next time.